I love to show this slide because HeatSmart Tompkins started as a grassroots effort right here in Tompkins County, and came out of a group called Solar Tompkins, an organization called Solar Tompkins that ran the first big Solarize campaign in New York State. And that campaign was so successful that the founders of Solar Tompkins decided that they didn't need to keep promoting solar in Tompkins County, and they wanted to turn themselves to other climate solutions, renewable energy solutions. And that's how they lit upon the idea of HeatSmart. And so HeatSmart Tompkins was born. And then it was such a great idea that the New York State agency, NYSERDA, started funding these communities all across New York State. And that all came out of the work right here in Tompkins County. So we're really proud of that. Next slide. Well, why is it important to do clean heating and cooling? And well, I think everyone on this call is probably very aware that we're in the middle of something called the climate crisis, or sometimes called the climate emergency. And that for the human race to be able to continue to survive and thrive on this beautiful planet that we call home, we need to figure out a way to rapidly cut down our greenhouse gas emissions. And here in New York State, we have sort of three big categories of how we emit greenhouse gases, and they are electricity, transportation, and on-site combustion. And that on-site combustion in this pie chart is shown as not quite the biggest, but actually if you include all of the emissions from natural gas, it is actually bigger than transportation. So that's a big nut to crack. And especially because, and a lot of that is our homes and buildings, most of it. And as this other graphic shows, 90% of the households in New York are using fossil fuels to heat their homes. So most of us have in our basement somewhere tucked away a machine that is burning up fossil fuels to keep our houses warm in the winter. And also many people also are heating their domestic hot water that way. So that's what HeatSmart is setting out to change. Next slide, please. In short, what our recommendations are, and you'll hear a lot more of this later in the presentation, is sort of three main areas. The first is the building envelope, and that is the walls, the roof, the basement, and all of the ways that heat and that warm air can it can stay in your house. You want to make sure that you have all the little holes sealed up and that everything is well insulated. And that way, whatever way you're planning to heat your house, that warm air stays in and you're using less energy to keep your house warm. And the same if you have cooling in the summer, you want to keep that cool air in the house. And once you have a nice tight building envelope, you want to turn to your space heating, which is the sort of the biggest energy user in your house. And what we recommend for space heating and also for air conditioning is something called heat pumps. And there are two major categories. They are ground source and air source, and you'll hear more about those later. But in short, those are by far the most efficient ways of heating and cooling a house or building, and that's why we recommend them. And the last is the domestic hot water, and there are now heat pump water heaters that are incredibly efficient. And if you did install ground source heat pumps or geothermal in your house, it's also called geothermal, you could do something called a desuperheater. All right, next slide. So that's HeatSmart in a nutshell. We just are here as a community resource. We're here to help people figure out what upgrades they want to do to their home energy systems and connect them with trusted, vetted installers who can do that work for them and connect them with incentives that make it more affordable. And incentives are what we're going to talk about for most of the call tonight, because right now there are opportunities that we've never had before where New York State, as part of our COVID relief, is giving away a lot of money to help stimulate the local economy and help people green their homes. So this is very exciting, and that's the main topic we're going to cover tonight. Next slide. So it gives me tremendous pleasure to introduce our wonderful partners in this work, Sustainable Tompkins. We have with us the president and founder of Sustainable Tompkins, Gay Nicholson, and her colleagues Marissa Lansing and Maggie Maurer. And I'm going to now turn the presentation over to them. Welcome.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm Gay Nicholson, president of Sustainable Tompkins, and we're a local nonprofit that was founded back in 2004 to support the regional sustainability movement. And we've worked over the years to help green our economy while protecting community well-being and our environment. And although we've covered a lot of topics over the last 17 years, we've always been deeply involved in helping to identify and adopt solutions to our climate crisis, from small do-it-yourself steps in our homes to larger scale energy improvements and policy changes. We've been involved in quite a bit over the last 17 years. But today we're going to be sharing with you the work we've done building the Finger Lakes Climate Fund to address two of the main challenges facing humanity today, and that's climate disruption and income inequality. And we're also going to be talking with you how we've been expanding the work of the Climate Fund through our partnership with HeatSmart Tompkins. I'm joined today by Marissa Lansing, who's our program coordinator for this project for the past year, and Maggie Maurer, who's our clean energy intern, who's been helping us with graphic design and marketing. So Maggie will kick us off by briefly explaining how the Climate Fund works.
Hi, so maybe you've heard of the Climate Fund before today, maybe you have not, maybe this is the first time. So what is the Finger Lakes Climate Fund? Well, 65% of greenhouse gas emissions are carbon dioxide emitted during daily activities that affect everyone and done by the vast majority of people, including transportation. So we all know that these emissions are heating up the Earth's climate and causing billions of dollars in damage every year. And so Sustainable Tompkins has been helping people for years learn how to reduce their emissions, but it is a process that takes a lot of time and energy. So before people can get to the net zero, we've created a local carbon offset fund where people can take responsibility for their unavoidable carbon emissions. So like I said before, the Finger Lakes Climate Fund is addressing two big issues today. All the offsets that are made through us go directly towards equipping low to moderate income residents of the Finger Lakes region with carbon-free heating and cooling home energy solutions. Home energy is an enormous contributor to carbon emissions. So these home upgrades mean that households can have a zero emission home for very little expenses. Carbon dioxide emitted by the offsetters is paid for by preventing future carbon dioxide emissions in these homes with the clean energy units. So it is a win-win-win, three-way win for everyone involved. The offsetters can take responsibility for their carbon emissions. The awardees are able to afford clean energy in their homes when maybe previously they wouldn't be able to. And the local economy gets a nice boost from contractor work and other green jobs. So even though we're based in Tompkins County, we have done work in 8 counties for a total of 59 projects that have helped individuals, families, and businesses green their spaces. And all those jobs have included insulating, air sealing, and or installing new clean energy systems. And it's focused on helping people that don't have a lot of money or maybe are starting off in their careers, like single parents or young families or senior citizens. And we've raised $96,198 total in climate fund offsets that have been used to offset 5,365 tons of carbon dioxide. And that number, 5,365 tons, is the equivalent of the home energy emissions for one house, like the average house, over 619 years, or put more simply, 619 houses over the course of 1 year.
Back to me. I've served on the HeatSmart Tompkins board for 4 years now, I think. And when we heard that new funding was becoming available to help low to moderate income residents access the clean energy advantages of heat pumps, both of our organizations jumped at the chance to apply and combine the donations from our hundreds of Climate Fund offsetters with these new additional funds provided through NYSERDA's Clean Heating and Cooling Communities program. You know, as I said earlier, our mission is to make sure no one is left behind in the transition to clean energy in our community. And this new combined program makes that so much more achievable, that mission. So why is our focus on heat pumps for this program? Lisa spoke a little bit about this before. You know, all of us clean energy advocates were united in our recommendation that every building owner first invest in air sealing and insulation to reduce your need for energy in the first place. But then the next step is to get yourself off fossil fuels and onto the most efficient possible way to heat and cool your home. The heat pumps are the answer for almost every situation. They're really a commonplace technology. It's basically a refrigerator as a heat pump in reverse. And they're extremely efficient because they only need a little energy to run a compressor and some fans. Plus, we now have heat pumps that can easily cope with our cold winter climate up here in the north. And they are most rated to minus 13 degrees Fahrenheit. They can function and keep you warm down to that kind of low temperatures, and many have backup systems, you know, to assist for those few hours a year that we're actually even colder than that. Sometimes we never hit that kind of temperature in a year. And then a nice additional bonus is that you can have whole house air conditioning from your heat pump as well, which many of us, especially senior citizens, as the summers have gotten hotter, we're really loving that AC. And since there's no combustion inside your home, your air is cleaner and free of possibly harmful gases like carbon monoxide from you know, unclean burning of a fossil fuel. Air source and ground source heat pumps, they use much less energy to produce the same amount of heating and cooling that your old system has been providing. You know, the best furnace might reach 96% efficiency, but a heat pump range in efficiency from 200 to 500% efficient. So that really results in lower energy bills. And since they run on electricity, that means they can run on renewable energy. All across our region, I'm sure you're aware that many cities, towns, counties, campuses, and the state of New York have made pledges, commitments to reduce emissions, to protect our climate. And those are ambitious goals to get off of fossil fuels, and we've been making progress on greening the electricity grid, you know, by adding in more wind and solar, and especially this big push now for offshore wind. We're going to have to continue those strong investments. But this is where heat pumps efficiency comes into play in terms of that green grid that we're trying to develop. They use a fraction of the energy of other systems, and so they're going to be using those green electrons very sparingly. And we've been really, really happy to be helping lower income people be part of this transition to clean energy and to even get their homes to net zero carbon emissions by switching to heat pumps and then signing up for one of the local solar farms or wind farms to run their heat pumps. So there are a lot of different programs available to help with the costs, and there recently has been established that the utilities are going to be providing rebates for heat pumps, and everybody qualifies for those. It doesn't matter what your income level is. They're $1,000 per 10,000 BTUs of heating capacity, rebate from NYSEG, $1,500 if it's a geothermal system, by the way, instead of $1,000 if it's an air source system. So everybody gets those. And then if you income qualify, NYSERDA offers a matching grant, 50% matching grant through their Assisted Home Performance Program that goes up to $5,000. So we are supplementing those incentives that are out there through the utilities and NYSERDA with our program, in which we're offering an extra $2,000 for any air or ground source heat pump that's installed by, one of our certified contractors, or $300 towards a heat pump water heater. And that gets combined with our Climate Fund grants, which go up to a maximum of $2,500. So how do the savings stack up? Well, here's an example of a recent project that we did with a family in Danby that switched from a fuel oil furnace to an air source heat pump. And you can see that the full cost of that was a little over $16,000, and they received a $3,000 rebate from NYSEG. They qualified for that $5,000 matching grant from Assisted Home Performance, and then they got another $2,000 from our program for their heat pump, as well as a Climate Fund grant for $1,760. That brought their cost share down to $4,424. That's 27% of the cost of the project is what this lower income family contributed towards this conversion to a heat pump. They're going to be saving about $700 a year in fuel oil costs by going with their heat pump. And yes, it costs a little bit more than if they'd replace it with another fuel oil furnace, but with those savings, the payback period is going to be, under 5 years. And then these systems last at least 18 years. So after that payback, then it's that $700 savings plus the air conditioning, plus the better indoor air quality. All of those benefits are accumulating to this family, and they only, because of how we stack up all these incentives, only had to cover 27% of the cost. So now here's Marissa to share with you some of the stories of our awardees who've been accessing all of these incentives.
Sweet, thank you, Gay. So let me share a family with you that I had the pleasure of meeting this summer and hearing their story. So this is Sarah with her daughter and Hector in front of this beautiful blue home. On the left-hand side of your screen, you can see that big, old, pretty leaky farmhouse that she lives in with her 2 daughters. You can see that wood stove there. That was the main way that they were heating their home. And actually in the winter, they had to crowd into that one room with the wood stove to stay warm, and had to completely shut off the second floor of their home to keep the heat in. So the house was really not livable at all and really expensive to heat. She actually used to run a daycare as well and had to shut it down during the colder months, which we know is a very long time in the Finger Lakes. But then Halco came along and helped her apply to the Climate Fund, actually did it all for her on behalf of her. And she was awarded $4,500 to install a brand new heat pump system and lots of spray foam insulation in the attic and the basement. So instead of going through 6 cords of firewood a year, now she had this amazing new heat pump system. And if you look on the right hand side of your screen, you can see these like really cool, top-notch, futuristic heat pumps that she got to access, which are actually disguised as a painting, which is really cool. I've never seen that before ever. But yeah, thanks to her new heating system, she's able to reopen her business this fall and be comfortable in her home again and use all of the floors, which is amazing. We all deserve that. And if you're in a similar situation or know someone who's in a similar situation, these grants might be a super good fit for you. So just like Sarah, we help a lot of other single parents and young families, grad students just starting to build out their careers, immigrant families, small businesses, and nonprofits. Here are some really fun Winter Wednesday profiles that we've been featuring on our social media, telling of different stories of folks who have benefited from our program. So we have actually completed 39 combined forces Climate Fund HeatSmart jobs since November of 2019. So that's less than a year. And in the context of the pandemic, that's pretty snazzy that we could accomplish that much, considering how we were shut down for a few months in there completely. So yeah, we've given out $120,000 to folks in the community, preventing at the same time while increasing comfort and health outcomes and getting off fossil fuels, preventing 3,800 tons of CO2 from emitting into the atmosphere, which is super, super awesome. And of the 39 jobs, we've had 35 air source heat pump installations through that all. So it's really cool to see renewable energy becoming more and more accessible across our community.
So you may be wondering, after all of those amazing stories and incentives that Gay and Marissa just explained, who exactly qualifies for these amazing awards? Do I qualify? What's the deal? And the answer is, you qualify. So right now, as previously mentioned, there are some great incentives going on that NYSERDA is providing because of COVID-19. And so if you're making 120% of the median income in your county, you do qualify for some NYSERDA grants. But those grants are going away at the end of this year, so December 31st. But you make 80% of your county's median income or lower, you qualify for a climate fund grant. And that is either this year or next year or whenever. You can always apply for those if you're 80% or lower. So just a reminder, if you are in the 80% bracket, you can apply for all the incentives. And if you're 120% or lower, then you have until December 31st. And now Marissa's going to talk about heat pump water heaters.
Yeah, so heat pumps have really been stealing the show tonight, but water heaters are where it's at. They are the best deal right now across the board, and only use a third of the energy to heat your water than your average fossil fuel water heater, which most of us have. After incentives, a low to modest income homeowner or a landlord, if your tenants are LMI, would pay about 15% of the full price tag. Yes, it's bananas, I know, but it's a deal really worth paying attention to. Heating water actually takes a big chunk of the energy bill. About 20% of your bill you get every month is just from heating water. So it's a huge payoff. Sound too good to be true? I know, but it's not. So here's the shakedown. So here is your average example of a 50-gallon heat pump water heater, a standard example. So at full cost, they're about $3,000, which your average human probably wouldn't be able to afford something like that. But with the Assisted Home Performance Grant, that slashes the cost in half. Our program will front $300, and NYSEG brings it home with $700. So the customer or you are left with $500 to pay, which is amazing. Granted, of course, like for every situation, every individualized situation, it might be more expensive or less expensive, but this is your general example. So for less than the average installed price of an old-fashioned water heater, you can get this unit, which is twice as efficient, and therefore every month you'll be seeing lower energy bills along the way. So it normally would be unaffordable, but it's pretty accessible. It's pretty good. So connect with us if you want to learn more. I fully recommend that you text Sustainable to 31996. If you're not going to do it right now, take a photo and connect with us and learn more. But yeah, thank you so much to HeatSmart and to Lisa for having us here tonight. And yeah.
And I just want to conclude our conversation with you by saying that I've been working with our local contractors and the members of our own grants review team who are energy engineers for 10 years now, and we have a pretty smooth system worked out. We'll take care of the details for you, and the only thing we ask of you as an applicant to our awards is that you be willing to share your story with others so that we can all be inspired to keep being climate smart and climate ready for the years ahead.
Oops, I think it's to my slides.
Yeah, Maggie, it's to her slides.
Thank you guys so much. What a great presentation. For those joining us who may be new to some of these things, it's a lot of information, but don't worry, you didn't have to retain it all because we have easy ways to walk you through the next steps to figure out what the next steps are for you. So just real quick, thanks for joining the webinar. And time before COVID, what we liked to do so much besides have webinars was to meet with you in your community, in your library, in your neighbor's house, in your town hall, and really get to know you in person. But of course, we can't do that easily right now. So please let people know about our webinars. It's not the same as seeing you in person, but hey, at least you don't have to drive anywhere. You can sit at home and don't have to wear pants or anything. So there are advantages. We also urge you to make use of our website, HeatSmartTompkins.org. We have a lot of information there, including everything about the incentives, about the technologies, case studies that you could maybe see other people who have made these upgrades and what a difference it made, how much it cost them, etc. We have virtual home tours. We have prior webinars that have been recorded, all on our website. So please make use of that. And when you take the next step to find out what's right for you, we'll refer you to our trusted installer partners. And if you're worried about people coming into your house right now with the COVID, they can give you proposals by working with you remotely if that's more comfortable for you, or they have very strict and careful protocols in place for visiting you safely if that's comfortable for you. So it's up to you what you would prefer. Next slide, please. So what to do next? You've heard a lot of things. The next step for you is if you are ready to find out the recommendations for your house, because every home is an individual and has different things that it needs and different first steps, and your goals might be different than my goals or Marissa's goals or Gay's goals. That's where you need to get to talk to professional home installers and figure out how to meet those goals best for you. So please enroll at our website, HeatSmartTompkins.org. There's a button that says enrollment that will take you to a very short form that you'll fill out. And there you will say what kind of heating you have now, what your goals are for your house, and which of our installer partners you would like to give you a free proposal. There's no obligation whatsoever to getting these free proposals. There's just information for you to help you figure out your next step. So next slide, please. So I'd like to introduce these installer partners who are on the call with us here tonight. We have 4 partners that we work with. They go through an extensive vetting process to be part of the HeatSmart program. So we have full faith in their customer service, their design, their installations, and the way they treat their employees and interact with everybody in our community. So we have 2 heat pump specialists, Daily Geothermal and NP Environmental. And then we have 2 companies that do whole home systems, including installation, air sealing, and heat pumps, which are Halco, Energy, and Snug Planet. And so before we take your questions, I'm going to let them introduce themselves to you tonight, starting with Elizabeth Harrod from Snug Planet. Take it away, Elizabeth. And you can stop sharing the slides so we can see her in full glory.
I don't know about that, but it's great to see so many names on the Zoom call. I'm really glad you're all here. And thanks to HeatSmart and to Sustainable Tompkins for spelling it out so clearly, because it's that thing where it's partly specific to you, as Lisa mentioned, in your home, and then it's also really good news for everyone, all at the same time. So I'm glad you're all here. And please tell friends at work and neighbors, because this all applies to them as well. Snug Planet got started in 2006. My husband was a forest scientist at the time, and he decided that he wanted to make his career his impact about saving carbon emissions in residential buildings, because like Lisa's first slide, that's just a way you can have a major impact on climate change and reducing carbon. So Snug started with a mission of saving energy in ways that make sense for people and the planet. And we've been doing that for 14 years. We're based here in Tompkins County. And we, a few years ago, decided to start installing heat pumps for all the reasons that Gay and Lisa just mentioned. And we love doing it. We love getting homes to net zero. So we would love to come to your home, talk to you about what you need, what your goals are, your timing, especially anyone who's worried about their old heating system not working this winter. those, before you make a decision about a new heating system, call Snug Planet. That's all I can say. Because once you make that decision, that's in place for 20 years and we just don't have the time. So, and then for people who don't need a new heating system right away, it's still a great idea. The day to insulate your house was yesterday, just like the day to plant a tree was yesterday. So we can help you at whatever stage you are. And even if you just make a plan now, we'll be there for you to implement that plan when you're ready. But these incentives are going to go away, some of them by the end of the year. So it's a great time to at least have us come to your home and make a visit. One of our building scientists will do a very thorough inspection and make a very comprehensive plan for you. And we'll be there to install it and to service it for all the years of its lifespan and to be there to answer questions. And if little things are amiss or you're not sure, we can help you, guide you through it every step of the way. You're a customer for life. So I'll turn it over to some of the other installer partners. And again, thanks for being here and thanks for being part of the HeatSmart program. Take it away.
Thanks, Elizabeth, so much. Next, we'll go to Matt Dennis of Halco Energy.
Hello, thanks everybody for being here tonight. Tell you a little bit about Halco. Been in business since 1984, 36 years now. We are a whole home performance company, as Lisa had mentioned. We do everything. As a matter of fact, our motto is, yes, we do that. So it has to do with home energy, home comfort, and health and safety. We're going to take care of it for you. Insulation, air sealing, basic waterproofing, general HVAC, plumbing, electric, and of course heat pumps and solar. One-stop shop. We got 140 employees that work for the company. We have a dedicated service department with about 40 service techs, HVAC techs, plumbers, electricians on the road every day. And we're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And that's not a boast. You pick a day, pick a time. If you call, a real life human being answers the phone. It's not an answering service. It's literally somebody at our office that works for Halco. So we're always there to take care of you and to help you out. And I'm really glad they used Sarah's home as a demo, because that was I personally that was one of my projects. I put all that together myself. And, because the focus on this webinar is LMI folks and incentives and rebates and grants and such, we did a tremendous amount of good for Sarah and her family. I have all the before pictures that I would love to have shared with you. There was literally no insulation in this house. And, I walked through it and I said, this isn't right. So we made an argument with Empower and said, hey, this needs to be done and done right. This is what these programs are for. And they went well beyond what their typical limitations are with these programs to really help her out. And then we got the heat pump situated, and she's incredibly happy, believe me. But we did a lot of good work there, and we do a lot of work with the Empower programs, with all the different NYSERDA programs. It's not as, it's not as sort of cumbersome as it seems. We do all the paperwork for you. You just kind of have to let us in, and to figure out what we can do in your house. But, we handle all the paperwork because it is a little bit cumbersome. We've got dedicated folks at the office that take care of all the paperwork, so you don't have to worry about it. All you have to do is sit and wait patiently as the state decides how to spend their money. But a lot of folks don't know these programs are out there. They don't advertise them, and the reasons for that is because if they did advertise them, the money would dry up very quickly. But the only advertising they get is folks telling other folks about it. So tell your friends. You saw the income levels pop up, and I did want to correct Margaret real quick. The programs aren't ending at the end of the year; they're just changing. The programs will be there. It's just the income levels will go back down to their normal levels. So right now, I think it's like 80 or 90% of all New Yorkers qualify now for this assisted home performance grant, which is bananas when you start stacking all the different incentives together. And you can get a very affordable clean heating solution or insulate and tighten up your house and be comfortable. So that's my ramble, and I'll pass the baton on to somebody else. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. I was going to make that distinction. So some of the things don't end December 31st. Some do the grant amounts go down, some of the eligibility go down. So, but the window of opportunity to take advantage of the maximum amount of free money is right now. And please tune in on October 15th when we'll be able to announce another really exciting new incentive that NYSERDA has been promising us to announce officially for quite some time now. But we do have another webinar scheduled in 2 weeks where we'll be able to talk about that, but we're not really allowed to talk about it now, but let me just say it's awesome. Okay, I'm going to now introduce Kevin from NP Environmental, and then we will take your questions. I think Daly is not on the call tonight. Go ahead, Kevin.
Thanks, Lisa. Hi, everyone. My name is Kevin from NP Environmental. I'm a field engineer with NP Environmental. A little bit about NP is we've been around since '04. We've been with HeatSmart Tompkins since the beginning. We are with numerous other HeatSmart programs, and they do a lot of great, work for the communities, getting the heat pumps, the insulation, the incentives, all of that information out there. So we're happy to be a part of it. Again, NP, we specialize in heat pumps, geothermal, air source, heat pump hot water heaters. We do all of that. That's our specialty. And we also specialize in the ventilation and the kind of auxiliary systems that go hand in hand with those. So we're happy to, give information and advise with all of those mechanical systems. That leads me into my next point, which is really kind of the drive behind NP and the drive behind myself working in the industry as well. They go hand in hand, and that's why I've really enjoyed my time at NP and working with them. Is the passion and the love for first the technology, the mechanical systems, anything pumps, valves, refrigeration. That's a huge driving force and interest with myself and all the other employees at NP. Next is the environment and clean energy. It's got to go this direction, and I'm very happy to be working in the industry that's kind of, definitely having a huge impact in this sector. So that's great. And then and the third huge passion is the people we serve, the people that we talk with and meet with, and the people that see the value in this technology just like we do. That's the people we like to work with. And like I said, too, that's the people we employ. So great company. Happy to help everyone and anyone with their journey on their way to a heat pump. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Kevin. And I misspoke. Leah Daly of Daly Electric or Daly Geothermal is here on the call. So Leah, why don't you say hello to the folks?
Hi, everyone. I am Leah Daly from Daly Electric, Daly Geothermal. And we have, my husband, Ryan, is the owner of Daly Electric and has been doing geothermal since 2007. We mostly do new construction remodel, and we are this is our first year with HeatSmart Tompkins, but we've been with Binghamton, the Southern Tier HeatSmart for the last 2 years. We primarily focus on ground source heat pumps and air source heat pumps, and we also do electric and plumbing. We are getting into the heat pump water heaters, and it's been a great journey with HeatSmart Tompkins, and we've learned a lot about a lot of incentives that we had no idea that there were out there, and we look forward to the coming year.
Thanks, Leah. Thank you so much, everybody. So there's some questions in the chat, and people can feel free to keep putting questions into the chat. But folks on the call can also unmute and ask a question of me, of Sustainable Tompkins and Gay and her gang, or of any of our installer partners. We're all here happy to answer your questions. So let's take it away, and I'll start looking for questions in the chat here. Sorry, there's a lot of activity in the chat. So Ellie wanted to know about, do we have numbers for cost savings for getting off propane? And what I'll say, Ellie, is we have case studies where we can show actual people who we have their actual bills, what they paid previously and what they paid after. Every house differs, and your installer will be able to give you a proposal that will estimate what they think you'll pay. I like to tell the story of my friend Katie, who has a 3-story house and was heating with wood and propane. NP Environmental replaced that with a ground source heat pump or geothermal heat pump system. She was spending $3,000 a year on wood and propane. And NP told her it would be $400 a year with her heat pump system, which she just really couldn't quite believe, but she does track it very carefully and has a spreadsheet. And lo and behold, it's been $400 a year for her to heat her house, her radiant floor heat, ever since that heat pump was put in, which was quite a while, like 5 or 6 years ago now. But your mileage may vary, but when you're talking about a system for a air source heat pump system that is 200% efficient, or a ground source heat pump that is 400% efficient, you're going to save money compared to propane, guaranteed.
And Lisa, I would say, because that's obviously a question we get all the time, and your answer was perfect. It varies. But sort of, kind of quick and easy numbers to kind of think about, it'll at least cut your heating bill in half, if not much more, but minimum half.
That's right. We can't do so well compared to gas for price. For right now, the prices of gas are so low. We can get about the same, but we can't tell you that your heat pump system will pay for itself in X number of years as compared to your gas furnace. You'll just have to do it for all the other wonderful reasons to love heat pumps. Besides that.
Any fuel
as a
other
natural
than
gas
gas.
customer.
Yeah, go ahead, Elizabeth.
I was going to chime in and say that our house in downtown Ithaca was on wood and natural gas, and because of our heat pump water heater and heat pump that we have installed, we got to turn off our gas meter, and that was just a great day. It feels amazing. So for us, I don't know that it's going to be about cost, because wood and natural gas are pretty cheap. I'm going to love only building fires when I feel like it, I gotta say. But just because something's inexpensive and easy doesn't mean it's the best thing. We all know that about other aspects of our lives, like food and transportation. And this is one where you don't have to change your behavior at all. You won't even, it'll just be better than it was, and it'll be turning off your gas meter. So, I'll just challenge anyone who's on natural gas to have that as a motivation, because it feels great.
Yeah, that's great. One thing I forgot to say about Katie's house is not only is she spending so much less, but she actually is keeping the house at a warmer temperature. So, wow, that's
and
really
cooler and dehumidified in the summer. So it's not just about the
well,
dehumidification in summer is so good for indoor air quality.
She doesn't have the air conditioning, but for most people putting in heat pumps, they're getting air conditioning as well, automatically, or they're adding it. In the case of somebody like Katie with a hydronic heating system, she didn't add it. But if you do have the heat pump air conditioning, it adds to your comfort and the health of your indoor air quality so much, because it also dehumidifies and that keeps your house from getting moldy, etc. Gay has her hand raised, so I'll call on Gay.
Just wanted to mention that these incentives are available to people who are renting as well. They're available to the landlords. If the tenants meet the income criteria, the landlord can tap into all of these incentives and improve the quality of those rental properties and reduce the energy bills, reduce the emissions, improve indoor air quality, all those benefits. So if you are a landlord or know a landlord, or if you're a tenant, please, investigate further. And if you're a tenant, get your landlord to enroll in HeatSmart and get an energy assessment done, and so we can help improve all of the buildings.
That's a great point. Thanks, Gay. So Julia said, can we say more about the federal tax credit? Yes, I did not know there were federal tax credits for water heaters until recently. It's under the Energy Star program. So for anybody who pays taxes, you can get a $300 federal tax credit if you put in a heat pump water heater. You can also get a tax credit for an air source heat pump system, a federal tax credit. I think that one might be $500. Those, I think, expire the end of this year, though. So you have to put it in this year to get it off your next year's taxes. For ground source or geothermal heat pumps, there's a 26% federal tax credit. So if you put one in this year, if you put one in next year, it would be a 22% federal tax credit off your following year's taxes. And you have to be paying federal taxes to take advantage of those. But if you don't owe that, you know, say that your portion was $3,000 and you didn't owe $3,000 in federal taxes, you can space that out up to 5 years. So it's really, really an amazingly good deal. And that is not expiring at the end of this year, but it will go down to 22% next year unless something new happens in Washington. But that's the current sitch, as they say, as the kids say. Other questions from folks? Don't be shy, because that's all I see in the chat. So I might be missing something. Oh, Susan wants to know if the incentives apply to new construction. And yes, they do. The rebate from the utility is good for the next 5 years. It's good for new construction. The tax incentives are good for new construction, and the low to moderate income incentives, we actually had somebody in Ithaca get those HeatSmart grants. They actually, another friend of mine, they were getting ready to retire in place. Their older 2-story house was not going to be great for older people, so they built a highly energy efficient little house onto their back of their lot, and then they sold the house on the front of the lot, and they got a HeatSmart grant, and I believe a Climate Fund grant too. So yes, 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 and yes. New construction can get most of these grants. Okay. Yep. Oh, was somebody saying something?
I don't have anything really fun to add, but I wanted to add that I got a call this morning from NYSEG. It took them 3 years, but they're finally coming to take the meter out of my house. I just wanted to share that. I turned the gas off 3 years ago, and it took them this long to get around to getting rid of it. So
Hashtag life goals.
yeah.
That's cannot wait to make that phone call. That's great news, Matt. That's really exciting. And you know, another very happy heat pump owner in Lansing, they have solar panels, they have a ground source heat pump system. So the only energy bill that they pay is their electric delivery fee of $19 a month or whatever it is, less than $20 a month. That's it. That's all they pay year round. And occasionally they buy wood to heat their wood stove. That's you too, Elizabeth, right?
No, I wanted to just say something else when you're done.
Oh, go ahead. Jump
I
in.
was just gonna put in a plug for people who say you love gas cooking and you just can't let it go. There are other options technically out there, but let's just say you have some kind of footprint left in your home or your transportation or any part of your life. You can always offset it, and that money will go to the Finger Lakes Climate Fund, and then it will come to, you know, companies like Snug Planet and Halco and all the others to actually save real money. So it's not like this hocus pocus, maybe I planted a tree in the rainforest or maybe I didn't. We have, I don't know how many customers we've done that for, Gay, but a lot. And it's very direct, it's very local. And so if you are not ready yet and you're still using any kind of fossil fuel in your life that you would like to offset, it's not that expensive and it really feels great, and it definitely helps people, and everybody's contribution kind of adds up so that when someone like, you know, Snug Planet comes and makes a grant request, there's money in the pot to put towards these projects. And they can sometimes make all the difference. As you saw in Gay's example, the amount of money people are paying is very small. So $2,000 towards that is a significant amount. And so it's one person's $60 a year or whatever it is, $120 a year to offset. But when you add all that up, it really makes a huge difference. So I just wanted to put it in plug for that program. And they're very good to work with and easy, easy, easy.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that, Elizabeth. I will just second that. You know, I try not to fly, but my family doesn't live near me. My family lives overseas, and if I ever want to see my brother or my dad again, I'm going to have to fly, like I did last Christmas, and then we offset those flights through the Finger Lakes Climate Fund. It feels really great to know that that money goes to help somebody in our own community have a more comfortable and energy efficient home. And then recently, because of COVID, people haven't been going anywhere, so I haven't been doing any offsets. So I just made an outright donation to the Climate Fund, and I also figured out what my carbon footprint for my annual heating bill in my house, and I offset that too. So as my mom sometimes calls me and says, what's the name of that thing where I can get rid of my guilt? And I say, oh Mom, it's the Finger Lakes Climate Fund. So she's like, yeah, send me the link again. So offsetting can be a great habit. You can get in, and they have a little calculator that makes it very, very simple. And it's just a sort of wonderful win-win-win. It creates jobs in the community, helps people be more comfortable, and it helps the climate too. So please sort of bookmark the Finger Lakes Climate Fund on your computer somewhere. And every time you buy a plane ticket, make sure you offset it. Just to fly round trip to California, I think the offset for that is like $20 or something like that. So not too outrageous. Gay?
Thank you, both of you, for talking up the Climate Fund. We really appreciate it. And it does feel good to be helping all the people we've helped over the years. I see Incheck, a former board member from Sustainable Tompkins, has a question about how long is the process, lead time for being approved for the programs and incentives. And in terms of the Climate Fund and our LMI incentive, it's kind of a 2-week turnaround to review it, and my board has to approve any, capital outlays, but it's just an email vote. So that goes pretty quickly. And I'll let the contractors reply on how long does it take NYSERDA to approve the other stuff. Elizabeth has an answer here.
Well, I put my answer in the chat. A lot of it is very individual. Sometimes there's several different entities, so sometimes they get behind and we have to push. There is some paperwork that, we help every step of the way, filling out as much of the paperwork as we possibly can. But as it comes to, a customer needing to provide, say, a pay stub, if you're really quick and on it and you get us what you need and you let us know, I'm really trying to move this quickly, you'll, the squeaky wheel, you'll move quickly. If you're kind of slow to get us paperwork and we have to ask 3 times, you'll get to the finish line, but it's just going to be slower. So some of it is out of our control. And when NYSERDA gets busy, it slows down, but not by months or anything, just by it happened Friday instead of Monday. So I think it's all in some ways individual customer driven, where if you're really eager and engaged in the process, it will just go quicker and smoother for you. And if you're more not in any big rush, then it could take a while.
Yeah. I just want to say for folks, if you already have been approved for HEAP, then you automatically qualify for Empower. And the contractors will help move all this paperwork forward, but you can also, if you want to speed up the process and you're still going through the process of getting proposals for your house, you can also go on NYSERDA's website and fill out the application to be approved for assisted home performance or Empower. And I've had people do that if they just want to sort of be ready, so that once they've decided on their contractor and what the scope of work that they want to have done, they're already approved, and that it can go through much faster. So we're going to need that, because there's going to be a real crunch at the end of this year because of the sort of nutty way that some of these incentives have been structured. We're grateful for the incentives, but we wish they had planned them to work better together, but we're just gonna not complain about that and just be grateful for what they are, and help set up everybody who's in contact with us to take the best advantage of them. John King, I'm calling on you. You're raising your hand.
So I was just going to say, anyone who is on SNAP or food stamps, an award letter from that program is also an automatic qualification as well. So anyone who receives either heating assistance or food assistance and also pays their own utility bill, whether a homeowner or renter, is going to be eligible. And the amount that the Empower program will fund, we can a lot of times go into a home and reduce the annual carbon output just from the weatherization measures by the equivalent of taking an entire car permanently off the roads. So anyone you know who's receiving assistance right now, they're an excellent candidate to really get that ball rolling. And even if they don't go all the way to heat pumps, to start the process at least.
Lisa, this is
Thanks for
Hal. I
bringing
thought,
that out. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, this is Hal. I thought I just also mentioned that there's some tremendous financing incentives offered by NYSERDA. So after all of these grants and you use some examples where people have paid $4,000, $5,000. NYSERDA has the low to moderate income folks a financing program that's at 3.49%, and that can be up to 15 years. So how that usually shakes out is the savings in their utility bills are going to be far more than their monthly payment. So these systems, even though there is a piece that the homeowner has to pay, it can be financed. So we can, get people involved very painlessly.
Sorry, Hal, your audio sounded a little choppy, but I think it's great point. There's several different lending mechanisms available at reasonable rates. Sorry about the dog. So and HeatSmart can help you find those, and the installers can help you find those. Alternatives Credit Union in Ithaca has an energy efficiency loan that they're very happy to extend to our customers. There's loans through the state, and there's some of the installers also have financing that they offer through various banks. So Alyssa, I see your question about the income limits. The income limits are hard limits. However, they're being pretty flexible in terms of you can show your income based on your last year's taxes, or you can show your income based on your most recent pay stubs. So a lot of folks are making less this year than they did last year. They can use this year's income, or they maybe made less last year than they are currently because for some reason COVID was good for their bottom line, and then or they got a new contract, then they can use last year's tax returns. So yeah, John?
This is backtracking a little, but something I wanted to bring up about people who have natural gas who are looking to switch. We were talking a bit about how we can't necessarily give huge savings right now, but something I always encourage people to think about is the time frame of the investment you're making. When you choose to say buy that furnace or buy the heat pump, you're really locking yourself in for 15, maybe 20 years for these systems. And if we look at the realities of natural gas, there's only so much in the ground. New York State in particular has a really aggressive policy to decarbonize the state on a fairly quick time frame. And whether it's because the gas starts to run out or because the state has to start increasing the price of gas to meet its carbon goals, gas being cheap right now doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be cheap in 5 years or 10 years. And when you lock yourself in, you're kind of locking yourself into the, at the mercy of what gas prices are going to do. And just like all other fossil fuel prices, we've all seen our price at the pump for our cars spike. We've seen home heating oil prices spike. When you go with a heat pump, because you've got the option to connect this to renewable energy, to buy solar energy, to buy wind energy, to put in your own solar panels, you really take yourself away from all of that variability and all of that risk. So even if the heat pumps might not necessarily save a lot of money right now, you're really getting a guarantee, and you're really opting out of all of the craziness of fossil fuel markets. And over the lifespan of that investment, that could very well, even for gas customers, end up being worth it.
Absolutely, that's completely true. And since we know that the gas industry is in really bad shape financially and is, sort of has never really turned a profit, we know that the prices aren't going to stay lower. And as more and more people adopt heat pump technology and electrify their homes and their transportation, the cost to the remaining people on gas is going to go up and up and up. And we don't want that to be you or anybody in our community. We really don't want anyone to have to bear that burden. So it is 8:02, and I don't want to keep people any longer. But this conversation doesn't have to end. HeatSmart Tompkins is here as a resource for you. You can start a relationship with us by enrolling on the website. You can also call me. You can email me. You can make a phone appointment through the Calendly app that pops up on the website when you look there. And that's the way that you, when you enroll, you choose which installers you want to hear from. They will contact you by phone, email, or text, whichever you choose, within 2 days of your enrollment. So that's the process there. And we're just happy to continue the conversation. We're happy if you are here on behalf of an organization. I'm happy to set up a webinar just for you and your members. I'm happy to join your monthly meeting and give a little short talk, whatever, this is my whole job, is to be here for you as a resource for information. So please stay in touch with me and with HeatSmart. And thank you so much all for coming tonight, and have a good and safe evening.
And I would just add that when you enroll in HeatSmart, there's a place where you can check to ask your contractor to see if you qualify for the Climate Fund grants and our incentives. Just check that, and our contractor partners take it from there.
Yeah, thanks for adding that, Gay. And thank you again so much to Sustainable Tompkins for being here tonight. To Marissa and Maggie and Gay, it's really great to have such wonderful partners and in this work. I love working with all of you so much, and it was a relief to not have to be the main presenter tonight. So take care, everybody. Stay safe.
All right, thank you.
Bye.